Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Jason with Scraps and Taps. I'm going to make this video kind of short because I recorded like a 30-minute video before this and it cut off at the 12-minute mark because my iPhone doesn't have enough storage. So I literally talked for like 20 minutes straight, and I looked back at my phone and it is just black. And I was like, okay, I'm going to bash my head in a wall right now because I know for a fact it's going to say storage full and that it's going to get either a little bit or it's going to get a majority of it up until like 5 minutes. And when I saw that I had 12 minutes recorded, guys, I just want to put something out because you know what? I want to stop being fucking lazy. I want to stop doing the same bullshit that I've been doing the whole fucking time and get it fucking done. So I'm going to make it short. UFC 302 violence meter, like at a quarter. It really went up to like half when Islam and Dustin started fighting. A notable win was, I honestly think the only notable win was really Kevin Holland versus Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, just by the sheer fact that Kevin Holland broke that dude's arm. And I feel bad for Mikhail. You know, he didn't want to tap. Kevin was like, I'm going to break his arm. And Herb just kind of let it go. And it's Herb Dean fault. You know, it was Herb Dean fault on that one. The crazy part about that was I'm not a professional fighter. I have wrestled before, and I can understand why somebody wouldn't want to give up, that position or whatever, and or try to fight out of it. But, Kevin at that point, he was really trying to get that arm isolated. He almost could have gone for a triangle, but I think the guy was defending pretty well, trying to fight the hands and trying to fight the legs. But as he turned right, Kevin turned onto his stomach, Mikhail turned onto his stomach, and that's where the arm bar really was putting the pressure. Mikhail tried to like grab again, but I think that's where he got overturned and where we can see the exposed arm. And at that point, I mean, he had it wrapped up solid, and Kevin really didn't want to break his arm. I think he told her, but he didn't want to break his arm. And, he was just like, oh, fuck it. And then you see him like that little pop right there, and it pops his arm, and then still does not want to give it up. So then what does he do? He does the most diabolical thing you could do, which is to completely tear his arm off, was that he decided to put it under his armpit almost, right? And use his body and his leg right here. So what he did is he grabbed the underside of his thigh, so that what he can do is that he has an anchor to his leg. So as his leg is pushing back, right, as he's having that pressure under his arm, he's just pulling it back with his body as much as he can to that side. And man, Herb just had to stop it at that point and even then, credit to Mikhail, he was like, no, I was freaking out when he was like, no. And I was like, man, the balls on that dude to be like, I didn't want to give up even if my arm was broken. Kind of reminds me like Jamal Hill when Paul Craig broke his arm and he was just kind of still in the fight, but you can see his fucking arm flipping and flopping throughout the whole fucking fight at the end of that. And, yeah, so shout out to Kevin Holland. I do not think he's the best gatekeeper. I think he's working his way up the ranks. He's going up, and he's going down sometimes. And that's what happens when you're a fighter. Think of Charles Oliveira and look at where he was at some point. The fucking champ of the world. Only lost it to the dumbass scales because the guys were fucking with it. And so, I think he has that same sort of trajectory as Charles Oliveira. He just has to keep working on his skills. Obviously, his skills are getting better because he's a ranked fighter now. And he's also getting subs. And he's getting these finishes in ways that he's a variety. It's the variety that really helps him out in this. Let's talk about the co-main. The co-main I honestly didn't really like. It was a real it was a boring fight, honestly. I really didn't like how Sean Strickland kept coming out with his Philly shell style, not really wanting to fight, it seemed like. I also feel like he did respect Costa's power, and that he was just kind of not nervous, but he always fights like he seems nervous, right? He does the most unorthodox things, that shell first of all, but he also does this thing where when he gets hit, his arms like fling up like that. He gets hit and he goes wham like that, and I don't know where that comes from. I know he has an awkward style, but in like the beginning of the 4th or 5th round when he did like high knees, I remember I was drunk as fuck watching with my friends and I was like, what is going on here? What are we watching here? Like, is this a professional fight? Because also, on the other hand, you had Paulo Costa bumping and bouncing across the octagon, where he's like, his gas tank isn't the craziest gas tank, and he gets pretty tired. But him bouncing around, I honestly think he was trying to win it in the points. I think he does address that later in tweets, where he was trying to be a point fighter. And I understand the illusion of trying to make it look like you're moving out and you're trying to cut all these angles and stuff. I understand that what he was trying to do, but in the end of the day, there was not much damage done to Sean, right? Not like how Dricus cut him up and bloodied him up in the fight, made it dirty, but instead he just kind of bounced around him, and Sean's style is very negate. It's very like, it's able to put out the flame of any other fighter, I think, because what Sean is doing is he's kind of like walking you down, but also at a point where, as he's walking you down, if you try to explode on him, Sean does a very good job of, doing the hand thing and getting away, right? Trying to create that space in order to reset so that he can keep hunting you down. When he tries to come down on the counter, right, that you're trying to move in while he's trying to counter you, right? And while he moves out at the end of the way, at the end of the exchanges. So I really thought it was a boring fucking fight. At the time, I thought Costa should have won just based on the thing, but that's probably the illusion that won me that's the illusion that won me and my drunk ass over in the fight, where I was like, oh hey, you know what, Paulo should have won. But that's just my opinion. Anyways, let's move on to the co-main event. The main event, the fight that we had been waiting for. Honestly, I was so psyched to see Dustin, and he looked so comfortable, and his walkout was so cool, man. The Diamond song to the Man by James Brown, or The Boss, right? It was so cool. And when he was coming out and he was like, I want it, and then he's shadow boxing a little bit right when he heads to the crowd, and he turns back and there's that camera looking right back at him, and he's just going like yeah, that was so cool, man. He looked like he was about to have, like, he knew he was gonna go in for a war, man. And dude, it was just, and the thing about Islam, and right, people compare Khabib to Islam to Khabib, and it's like, what's true is that Islam is a better Khabib, is a more well-rounded Khabib, right? We've seen those old images, those old videos of how Khabib's striking used to be, where he would throw these fucking like winding punches that didn't come from anywhere, with no real backbone on the punches, other than that they're winding punches, right? They're coming from places that you can't really see, where Islam's striking is really crisp, and he's not afraid to stand in the pocket with Dustin Poirier, which we saw people like Dan Hooker, try to sit in the pocket with Dustin, and fucking hell, how fucking hard Dan Hooker got pieced up. But Islam is not afraid to take a risk, and he can also take some fucking punishment. But Islam is also just such a good wrestler, and he's able to smother you if he's able to get you against that cage. And the thing is, with wrestling, is you have to be pretty close in order to close the distance. But Islam is also not fucking scared to take a wild shot across the octagon, even if that means giving up position, even if that means, wasting your energy a little bit. But that's the thing, is when you're Islam, when you come from Russia and you're a Dagestani, they're going to expect you to wrestle. They're going to expect you to do this. But Islam's wrestling is so high level that it doesn't matter where he is in the mat. He can shoot a takedown, and he will be relentless enough to, if he can't grab one leg, and you're moving backwards, he's going to try to grab the other. He'll reshoot, right? It doesn't take much for him to reset and reshoot, which is a really good thing, especially if you're that high level of a wrestler. Your ability to be able to continuously reset off the jump and be able to still try to attack those legs, because at some point, right, say you keep attacking the leg, there's a fence right there to stop that momentum, right, where you're able to finally get that glue on and grab that person. So yeah, and Dustin was doing a good job of trying to piece him up and being like, yo, come on, I can eat this. Bam, I'm looking at the end of the second round, and the thing is, Islam is such a good clinch game, but Dustin is really strong. He's able to keep his head up, right, and have that strength, which I thought was something very interesting. Was that I think Dustin is just extremely strong. But what is not strong suit is his kind of like his counter wrestling. I think he's too comfortable to stay in the bottom. He's too comfortable to stay like getting submitted on, which is such a bad look, and especially in the eye of the judges. When you get 3 minutes and 30 something seconds of ground control, that's, I mean, your wrestling is superb, right? And Dustin couldn't do it against Khabib, couldn't do it against Charles. When he got his back taken, it almost every fucking time that he got his back taken against Islam, I was like, what are you doing, my guy? What are you doing? These are the two. Getting your back taken is almost like a death sentence in the Dustin Poirier wheelhouse, you know? Like, to see him get the body triangle and Islam working the back, it was really, really intense. I was like, fuck, man, I can't believe it. If he gets a rear naked choked again, I was like, I think he's gonna kill himself, pretty much. And let's talk about that. I mean, beautiful, absolutely gorgeous foot sweep that Islam did. Was able to get his leg in between his leg, right? Keep him there. I think Dustin was really, I think Dustin was waiting for a takedown, but I don't think he was really waiting for something like that. I mean, that takedown was intense. And the thing is, if you've never been swept like that, like the feeling of your, like, it really is interesting, because it is your whole equilibrium being like thrown off balance. And imagine you were getting fucking beat the fuck up for 4 rounds, and then in the 5th round you end up getting a completely 360 turned around to a face plant on the mat, which led to them getting to the ground, which led to the Darce. And so if you've ever been like the hand sweep one, that's fucking intense, man. Like, I've been swept like that before, and it is just, it's jarring how quickly your body just falls without that, where you feel like something's happening, you're hand fighting, and then wham, you just go oof, like right down. And so from the leg, that was intense. Like, he really did just shut anything that Dustin Poirier had down with that sweep. And that Darce, man, the way that he was able to, I'm gonna take a look at it. Oh, well, let's before the Darce, Dustin did a really good job. I think at this point in the 5th round, Dustin's nose is already broken. He's able to stuff some takedowns, right? But I think it's just very, like, the feints. And Dustin's like, nah, you ain't going to get that on me. But the clinch game in this fight was really, really tough. A lot of some pocket fighting, Like, Islam is not afraid to take that risk, is not afraid to box, which I love, which makes me more excited to see more Islam fights. I just want him to fight more contenders in his division, not fuck Leon. Who gives a fuck about Leon? Leon's fighting Bilal right now. Dude, focus on your fucking division, man. Don't go up to 170. Get one more real title defense in there before you go up. And just, dude, wrestle. Let's wrestle. Man, Dustin at the end of the 4th just ripping Islam's body. Ooh. See, and that's the thing. In the 4th round, he tries to hit a switch, right? Which is fucking phenomenal. Because Khabib was able to hold Dustin like that, where Dustin is on all 4s. And he didn't do anything. He just accepted that in his fight. But this time he tried to counter wrestle, tried to hit the switch, and was able to get out effectively. And I think around here, 250 something around the 4th is when finally Dustin is able to bloody him up. He wanted to jump to Gilly at 245, but man, he could not. I don't think there was even one Gilly attempt. I think that was the only Gilly attempt I've seen right now. And it was just very faint. You can start seeing him try to lock his hands in. Yeah, I think at this point, this is where he tries to hit the switch. Damn, hits the switch, hits him with the elbow on the break, and it bloody. And that's when it opened. That's the most significant shot that Dustin had landed. And then starts ripping the body 1 minute and 15 at the end of the fourth. But man, Islam is tough as fuck. Islam is tough as nails. Now let's move forward to that beautiful sweep. So Islam pressures. And Dustin isn't even biting on the takedowns as much at this point. Yeah, and Dustin's trying to stalk him down at the beginning of this fifth round. Hit him clean with the left. And Islam's face is pouring blood at this point. Oh man, and Islam hits a deep single. And I think this is where it leads to the end, because he's trying to lift his hips up, switches the leg, grabs his other leg, keeps it in between his, then does the sweep. And I think also, if I'm looking correctly, yeah, see, Islam pulls out a little bit, so I think Dustin thinks he's going to give away the position and just let go, but instead he drags his leg with him, turns him around, and then at this point, Islam's working, trying to work the neck, but trying to lift Dustin's head up to get his neck. I think he was looking for a guillotine, but then he sees the darce right here, and he squeezes. Dude, his whole chest is on Dustin's neck, trying to squeeze it over and turn him over. Finally gets him turned over. Dustin taps. Seems like he's out for a second to the darce, and then all his team comes and hugs him. Khabib, his management. Man, what a heartbreaking time for Dustin Poirier fans like me. But what a contender, what a fight. Like, it really did feel like half my violence meter up to that point, and all the blood meter that I needed to get me going. I'm like Mike Tyson when he's like, what does it mean when fighting gets you hard? Like, gets you an erection. He goes, means you're, and then Joe Rogan goes, means you're excited. And he goes, yeah, I get excited about fighting. He goes, I get hard. I don't come, but I get hard. That's exactly how I am about. And then Khabib comes to kind of console Dustin, and you know, what a fight. Now I'm gonna put my conspiracy hat on. As you know, there was supposed to be a press conference for McGregor versus Chandler, UFC 303 in Dublin, Ireland, right? Something happened where they postponed the press conference, and then for unforeseen circumstances, then Conor tweets out, right, that things were out of his control or something, and that he can't wait to bring the fight and put on a great performance, right? Then Michael Chandler comes out and says, he posts a quote that says, denying yourself of your passions is a slow suicide. Throw yourself fully into purpose, even if you fall short. What you gain along the way is immeasurable. Walk on, see you at the top. And what's interesting to me is that this comes off, and then after that, right? After all that, people were rumoring that Conor has an injury, which might put the fight in jeopardy. Which, first of all, I have to say is that every fighter goes into a fucking fight injured. Dude, Conor's coming off that giant fucking leg break. Like, you don't think even then that's still an injured part of his body? That probably doesn't full heal. He probably has, like he says, titanium screws. Like, that means he's still assisted somehow, right, in his bones and all that. But to me, seeing that Dustin lost, seeing that they're still fighting him, he still looked good. He still looked like top of his division, giving the fight to Islam, right? It makes me think that if this, which it makes me feel really bad for Michael Chandler, it makes me feel bad for saying this, but if Conor is like, fuck it, I don't want to fight Chandler, I'd rather do the quadrilogy with fucking DP and say this fight is off, like who, like you, Chandler just wasted so much of his fighting career, right? The biggest payday of his life and all this for just Conor to be like, no, I want to fight Dustin, right? Two guys who have lost, right? Two older guys who've had history and had probably one of the biggest fights and grudge matches in the history of the not biggest grudge matches, that was Khabib and Conor, but like the second one, right, in that division. So it's just, I feel bad for Chandler, man. I feel bad for Chandler. He was on his way to the press conference like a day before, had his bags packed probably, and then boom, the thing is canceled, and nobody wants to say what it's about, what's really going on behind the scenes, right? There's just illusions. There's just almost like, not he said, she said, but it's almost just like we don't know what's going on, and everybody just has to be okay with it, right? The biggest star in the company is like, sorry, unforeseen circumstances. Well, what are those? Then the injury thing comes out, and it's just like Michael Chandler is probably ripping his hair out. I would be ripping my hair out if I had to fucking wait for this dude all the fucking time. And, you know, this could possibly all just be part of Conor's plan to get under his skin, to play those mind games, to bring back that old Conor, right? I'm thinking old Conor when he was in Rio, in a Rio bar or an Irish bar, I forget which bar in Brazil, and he's ripping Jose Aldo's photo, right? Or he's grabbing him in the back, right, when they're doing interviews, shit like that, right? Learning his language, calling him a pussy in Brazil, in Portuguese. And so it's just so weird to know that Michael Chandler's waiting. Obviously, he's waiting for the biggest payday of his life, but the fact that he's waiting so long and the fact that things are still being pushed back like this, and there's no real, not very much transparency of what's going on, other transparency of what's going on other than saying unforeseen circumstances. So I don't know, man. We're only like a month away or some shit like that from this fight. Less than a month away now. And if, you know, and I mean, there's a lot. And the thing is, dude, do I feel bad saying that Chandler would not get the fight? Yeah, but man, could you imagine the fourth fight, Conor and Dustin? Let's say it. What if Dustin wants to come back and this could be his retirement fight? One of the biggest fights. I would much rather see fucking Dustin fight Conor than Chandler fight Conor. You know, give Chandler a contender. If Chandler's still wanting to fight, give Chandler a contender finally. Make him a number one contender, bro. That's what you brought him in here to do, to see how he fares against these UFC guys. Now he wasted a majority of his career, of the back end of his career, waiting for one guy, right? But the one guy who would make him a lot of money. So I don't know. That's my conspiracy theory hat about that. And so I really hope, you know, if the fight doesn't happen, the fight doesn't happen. I hope it does, though, because, you know, we've all as fans have been waiting for this fight for a while now. And I wanted to talk about the CJI, the Craig Jones Invitational. I really want to go to that thing, man. Craig Jones is doing the most trollish shit by making his invitational the same weekend as ADCC. So if you guys don't know, ADCC is like the Super Bowl of grappling. It's what everybody aspires, wants to be at, wants to win, wants to be number one, right? But the thing that Craig Jones is doing, he's like, okay, well, what do you want? You want the glory of ADCC, or do you want to try your hand at winning $1 million and getting 10,000 and one to show up, which is what the ADCC winner does get at the end of fighting their matches, is $10,000 to win at the Super Bowl. Could you imagine if your favorite player in your NFL team was going to the Super Bowl and then they say, hey, my check was only $100,000 for the whole season for winning the Super Bowl, whatever. But no, these players are getting paid millions of dollars to play on a team, whereas jiu-jitsu, you're strangling, breaking people's bones, ripping their ligaments from the bone, shredding them, and you're getting paid $10,000 to win. I think Craig Jones is going to do amazing things with this because so many high-level jiu-jitsu players are backing out of ADCC to compete in the CJI, right? Not only that, but if that doesn't entice you, we have the first intergender jiu-jitsu match between him and Gabby Garcia. Now, if you guys don't know, they have had a history dating back to 2 years ago or something like that, where they wanted to fight each other and they were just getting under each other's skin. And so it's so funny to see the resolution come out. Dude, and if you guys don't know who Gabby Garcia is, I want you guys to go check out her Instagram. And then you guys can comment on what you think of Gabby Garcia and who might win this intergender match. But it's really, really interesting. I really want to go. It's August 16th and 17th at the Thomas and Mack Center in Vegas. And I am ready to see these people duke it out for $1 million. Can you imagine if they were duking it out for $10,000 and put in their heart all into it, what $1 million would do in a submission grappling tournament? It's amazing. I'm so happy that Craig Jones did this. And he said he wants to put on every year. So I think it's going to make a lot of money. I think a lot of people are going to watch it. It's going to be free on YouTube. So do me a favor. When August 16th and 17th rolls around, go watch the CJI. You're going to probably see the fucking most dog of dog matches. People getting walked. People getting submitted. Most exciting. And, you know, I would only think that the most exciting grapplers would want to come in and do something like this, right? So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So far, the minus 80 kg division, we have only Andrew Tackett, Nicky Ryan, and Joseph Chen. So that's probably the least filled out bracket. The plus 80, you have William Tackett, Luke Rockhold, Nick Rodriguez, Mason Fowler, and Roberto Jimenez. I really want to go. I'm excited for this. He's revolutionizing the grappling industry. You know, he's making sure that people are going to get paid. Which, if you have a favorite athlete, if you have a favorite something, if you see that they're putting their bodies on the line, like, you want these people as entertainers to get paid as much as they possibly can, right? So Craig is doing something great here. But yeah, I don't know what else to talk about. It's really fucking late. It's 1 minute till midnight. It's been a while since I've done any one of these, but for my 1.5 viewer, like, I appreciate you, and hopefully you'll be back with me on the Scraps and Taps. Maybe next week I'll do some news, since I don't know who's fighting next. I think Cannonier's fighting next. But I just got to shake off the cobwebs and stuff and start editing and doing these things right, because I love this sport. This sport is amazing to me. And it's just one of the funnest sports, man. You know, all the blood, all the heart, you know, you can't ask for a better sport. It's like modern gladiators, man, even down to the grappling. So this is Jason with Scraps and Taps. You guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you guys on the next one.